Welcome everyone. There are so many exit opportunities in consulting. If you haven't watched so, I've actually interviewed a former Bain manager talking about his experience when he transitioned from consulting to PE. And today we have Doa, who I work with at BCG, and now he has his own pricing startup. Welcome again.
Hi, Dennis. Hi, everyone.
And today we will talk about his experience on how he managed to transition from BCG to forming his own startup. Let's get started. Welcome again, Doa.
Hi, Dennis.
For those who don't know you, do you want to tell me a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I started working at BCG in 2016 when I joined as an associate, and that's where I met you actually as well. And I spent 2 years as a generalist consultant, pretty much. I worked on various range of projects from automotive to telco, from marketing to strategy and everything. And then I decided to specialize in one sector and one specific function, and I applied to join this global team in Milan office that specialized purely in travel and tourism and purely doing marketing and pricing and for travel and tourism clients. That's where I spent another 2 years in Milan office, but doing a lot of global projects across the world.
Have you done work on pricing before you applied to that role?
No, not really. Not really. I worked in digital and analytics projects before that, and this team was further in depth focused on pricing, which is an arm of advanced analytics.
And why did you decide on doing this?
Yeah, two things basically. First, global exposure. They always worked in global projects. And the second one is the specialization in data and advanced analytics, which was not as popular as today back then, like around five years ago.
For sure.
But still, it was getting more popular every day.
So do you mind just giving us an overview of the pricing projects that you worked at? So what kind of things have you dealt with?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the problem was especially for those travel and tourism clients, the main problem was knowing when and how much demand to receive from which customer. If you can predict the demands accurately, you can set the price in advance because they have a limited supply that is fixed. And in this supply demand curve, as we all studied in economics, so once you have a fixed supply, all you can change is the demand, but it's out of your control. So what you control is the price that you set in advance.
Sure.
If you can know what demand level you receive in the future and you can predict that in advance, you can set the price upfront. So once you set the price accordingly, you make the most profit out of the deal. So that was the biggest problem. And what we were doing is two phases actually. First, setting up a strategy, which markets, which customers, which products to target. And second is building a very advanced analytical model to forecast the demand and optimize the price for airlines, hotels, cruises, and so.
And those projects actually took you outside of Istanbul as well, right? So you did projects in Italy and maybe in Qatar or somewhere, if I remember right?
A lot. Qatar, Italy, Brazil, Finland, Germany, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, a lot.
That's awesome.
So, and we actually had Turkish projects as well that I didn't work on. But yeah, it was all global pretty much.
As you can imagine, not all consultants actually exit consulting to form their own startup. So how did that decision come about?
It was the time that I was pursuing a career at BCG, and I decided to go for MBA, and then I decided to come back to BCG to work as again expert consultant and become a project leader, then principal, then partner eventually. But then when I was having chat with my professors at MBA and having chat with the industry leaders there, I saw that not only this pricing thing, but in general, advanced analytics, software business, software as a service business was getting super popular because it was not only a problem for the clients that we served back then, but was a big issue for almost every single company in the world. And like 95% of those companies operate in a model that is quite manual, that has a lot of room for error, human error, and that is really not automated at all. So that's where I thought that, this is the thing this is the thing that will get in very, very big in the future. So I
And
said, okay, we need to build a software company.
which year was it again?
2020.
Yeah, this was really before all this like boom around digital happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your initial plan was actually to return BCG after MBA, but
Right.
then you just realized there's a better opportunity. So
Right.
that's awesome.
Right.
So why don't we then together talk about how consulting prepared you? I see, of course, you've worked on pricing projects and that probably helped you a bit, but let's get into the details, please.
Yeah, of course. How I started actually was not pricing at first place. What I decided to do is a little bit more data manipulation, a software that will prepare the data for the client and generate the key message out of the data automatically. So pretty much like a robot consultant I was trying to build. And how BCG helped me is, I will say, two steps. One, the design of the product, designing the go-to-market strategy, identifying a customer profile, targeting the right customer, building pretty much a roadmap to reach that target. BCG helped me tremendously because that's where I gained all those strategic mindset, the thinking, the top-down thinking, segmented thinking, and everything. I think I could have never had that opportunity if I worked somewhere else. So that's business-wise, I think it helped a lot. And the second thing is actually not very consulting material, but I learned a lot of coding, Alteryx coding, advanced analytics, and all those stuff during those 2 years that I spent with this travel and tourism team. So I was really specialized in data analytics. I gained all those skills there.
Let me just jump in there as well. So you talked about Alteryx and Tableau, and I remember back in even in 2017, there was a global push in teaching colleagues to do that. And what kind of trainings that you've done on top of what was already provided?
I will say Python is definitely the biggest thing. If you want to do something in advanced analytics, you definitely need to learn Python. It's very similar to Alteryx. The only difference is that the syntax, you don't use like the shapes to collect data, to manipulate data, but you write the code yourself. But it's not very hard. I mean, it's much easier than learning a new language. And that's definitely one thing.
But it wasn't part of your consulting projects. You kind of wanted to do it in parallel.
I wanted to do it in parallel. Yeah, in consulting projects, it's pretty much, it was like you can use Alteryx or you can use Python. It's up to you. If you know Alteryx, you don't need to use Python because you built the same script, same code anyway. But I learned it on top because I knew that in the future, first, Alteryx was expensive. Second, Python was more advantageous when it comes to automating tasks and everything. So I learned it myself.
And did you find the trainings provided by BCG adequate for you to get very good at Alteryx and Tableau, or did you have to reach out to some colleagues or some external training materials, perhaps?
Yeah, no, for Alteryx and Tableau, I think what BCG has is maybe the best thing in the world. Even Tableau, I think, doesn't have better Tableau trainings because I think that's what makes consulting very valuable. They identify what you need and they teach you the best way what you need exactly. So that's why I think both Alteryx, Tableau, and many other things, BCG trainings were the best of the best for sure.
Absolutely. And also because you probably wanted to further improve your skills on those front, you probably were a bit also selective with the way that you chose your projects, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that makes total sense. I understand that consulting helps a lot. In our case, of course, BCG's, amazing internal materials, set you on course for this journey. But do you think if it wasn't for consulting, if you actually worked in IB or other, maybe FMCG company roles and such, would those roles also help you as much, or do you think consulting is one of the best careers to have if you're thinking of forming your startup or joining a startup in the future?
Yeah, we discussed this a lot when I was at MBA. Actually, there were a lot of people from finance, from tech, from FMCG, and so it was like a pretty mixed school, and it was a very nice atmosphere. So we were very open in our thoughts, and I still think back then I thought and now think that no industry can beat consulting really because like just taking examples one by one in finance you learn just some very advanced financial models and a lot of networking, a lot of people management, client management, and so, but I don't see anyone really gaining a lot of skills in managing a business properly, setting a long-term strategy, managing people to get some tasks done. So that's really missing. where consulting you learn it a lot. And in tech, I think it's very product focused and very little customer focus in there. If you work in a sales job or something, it's different, of course, but that's not what they do at best. And if you're working in the regular tech role, like a product management team, and so I think it's very, very product focused, and you learned a lot. That's great. It grants you a lot of skills, but it's still missing that human touch. Like if you aim to work in marketing, I think FMCG is maybe better, or any kind of marketing role is better. But if you step outside the marketing at anywhere, then I think still consulting beats what you can get at the
Makes
FMCG
sense.
or marketing roles. Yeah.
So what do you enjoy the most right now in your current pricing startup? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the free time that I play tennis because I have a lot of free time. So it's of course it's not about having a startup, but it's more about having a software startup that the soft like Amazon does everything for you. So you have a lot of free time once you set up the code and deploy the
Sure.
software for a client. That you'll have a lot of time, like your pay per hour increases like tremendously. That's what I enjoy the most.
Even though I remember that we used to play tennis while we were at BCG too,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
but maybe
Now,
once a month maximum,
yeah,
right?
once a month. Now I play like 3 times a week, 4 times a
Okay,
week.
so one of them is being able to create your own time or carve out some time for your non-work related activities. But what else do you enjoy
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it?
fair. Okay, so serious answer to this is I think not having a boundary and deciding what you will do is the best thing. So this freedom to decide what strategy to set, which client to talk to, which client not to talk to, which product to build, which not to build.
You can select.
You can select that. You have the complete control on it. And on top, I also love that it involves a lot of coding and everything, which I love really. I realize that I love that. If I learned it earlier, probably I will have done something related to that a little bit earlier. But I also enjoy that part. And third thing is that the client interaction as a business owner is really nice compared to the client interaction that you have as an employee. I think you have more like a higher level conversations, and you are more passionate about the meetings. You're more excited about the meetings, and you get happier after you have a good meeting.
Yeah.
You get more sad after you get a bad meeting. But long term, I think it's bigger satisfaction.
For sure. I think so far you made a great case around, why startup could be one of the best exit opportunities in consulting, but I'm sure not everything is all rosy. So would you like to perhaps share a couple of challenges you've been having?
Sure. If you rely on something to live, like if you have a debt, if you don't have your apartment, or if you're paying a lot of money to live, basically, I think there's a huge amount of stress that you're stressed a lot. And then if the things not going in the way that you really desired, that you will get super depressed. And I was very lucky because, I moved into to my parents' place. I started to drive my mom's car, and like I didn't need a lot of financial resources to live, and I could tolerate a couple of rejections from the clients. But despite that, I had like extremely hard time. Like last year this time, I was very depressed, and for a couple of months, or for maybe like 6 months, I was like really deep into depression, and like couldn't see what was going to happen in the next few months, few years. I was thinking about maybe that was not the best path for me. So that was really really tough. So if you don't have a financial security, I really don't recommend unless you have a very clear roadmap.
For sure.
But yeah, I think you also have that when you have a very bad trajectory in a job as a consultant, as an investment banker or so. But at startup, it's a little bit bigger.
No, it is for sure. I mean, you just have to take the leap of faith in here. And well, this video is more about you, but also pretty much everyone knows that I also have my own startup. I'm going through similar challenges myself too, but you just have to take the leap of faith. Otherwise, you won't be able to achieve much. No, this is super interesting, but to maybe leave on a positive note as well. What do you miss most about consulting that you don't have as a startup owner?
Yeah, expense dinners is the thing I miss, especially on the projects abroad, like
I knew you would say that.
Nobu, Salt Bay, all those restaurants and everything. But now I'm vegetarian for 2.5 years, so I don't eat those. I don't miss much. But yeah, like all these side benefits, I think were incredible. We were able to fly wherever we want instead of flying back home. You're flying business class to a country on a weekend and then you go back to work. Like it's really amazing for people who don't have that much long distance projects. Maybe that's not the thing to miss most, but the thing I miss most about the time I spent here at home in this first 2 years of the projects maybe is the executive presence and the exposure to high level like C-level executives of those companies tackling the biggest problems of the largest companies in your country. I think it brings a really high satisfaction. That's really the thing I miss right now.
Fantastic. And lastly, I would love to get your thoughts on what kind of advice would you have for those who are aspiring entrepreneurs like yourself?
Yeah, so I asked the same question when I joined BCG. Like 6 months in, I had a chat with another person, and I asked this question. And then back then, I didn't take it that seriously, but now I will give the same tip. So, two things: specialize as fast as possible, because to build something, you need to know that inside out. And once you know that, you not only know about the product, but you also know about the space, like, people, other competitors, the needs and priorities. So specializing in something rather than keeping a generalist role is first thing to do. And second thing, even though you think that you will remain in the business side of it, so I may be an exception because I run the business and the production myself, but still, even though you will remain on the business side of what you want to start, knowing a little bit about the technical details will help you a lot, because it will give you a great leverage against your co-founder, against the clients, against the technology provider and everything, and against the investors. So I think learning a little bit more about the tech, how those things work, if it's a tech startup, of course. If not a tech startup, learning a little bit about the operational sides of what you plan to do is one of the best things you can do to get prepared.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for your insights today, Doga.
My pleasure. Thank you. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, it was super helpful. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.